All right, today we got the Banks Monster Ram for my 2012 Ram. It's got the 6.7 Cummins, and it's already been deleted. So some of the stuff that you see in some of the other channels, the videos about this same process installation, I won't have to do that, removing like the EGR stuff. Mine's already got the block off plate on there, and the throttle body butterfly valve that's in line with that has also been eliminated. So yeah, some of those connections for the wiring harness are already disconnected. Actually, one of them's it actually after I deleted it, it must have broke the zip tie or whatever, fell down on the exhaust manifold and melted down. And I kept getting the check engine code, and it wouldn't reset. So I finally found it whenever I was changing my crankcase filter, and I seen that the wires were all melted down and touching each other. So as soon as I would change the fuse and start it up, it would short out. So I fixed that, got them all taped up. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I couldn't figure it out for the longest time, which sucked because I was in a cold climate and I couldn't do the remote start because it automatically would start and shut right back off because of the check engine code. So I'm glad I got that fixed. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a couple hours, pretty straightforward. Got a couple wrenches. All right, there we have everything. Came in the kit. All these plugs for your fuel rail gaskets. You got extension for your wiring harness. You got some thread locker. You got the air intake. You got a new fuel line for relocating the bend to make it around this part over here on the number one, or the one at the front. But looks nice and clean. Intake, and so you can see right here, this is where the grid heater goes. And one of the problems with the Ram 6.7 with the grid heater is that the nut that, and stud possibly, that holds that in place on the underneath side could come loose and have it go down into your intake, and possibly make it all the way down into your cylinder, so causing complete failure of your engine. So one, it opens it up. As you can see, it's straight through, and what they did is they put a different type of heating element in there that goes down in this location right here. But it's definitely a lot less surface area, so I don't know how it'll perform in cold climates, but it's definitely going to have less restriction. All right, so out here you can see I already have the EGR crossover block off plate. There's a wires that fell down onto the exhaust manifold and melted. Also, I eliminated that portion of the throttle control. So some of the steps have been already taken care of, but we still have some stuff. Some of these wiring harness connections can be a real pain, and just reaching some of the stuff, it's just kind of hard to reach. You can see the down in there, right there, right there. Just going to be a pain. Just going to have to take it easy and try to eliminate, move all the stuff that's going to hang us up and give us trouble. Okay, first thing we got to do is disconnect the battery. I already disconnected this connection for the winch on the negative side, and this is an 8mm. All right, I got both batteries disconnected. Got that part of the wiring harness disconnected. I took off that bolt to the dipstick. Next, I got to get some of those connectors for the wiring harness disconnected. And the main reason is just to give you more room, get all that stuff pulled back out of the way, so that you can get to all your connections for your fuel rail and where they go into the head. So like I said, we're gonna make some marks both on the both connections right there. That way we can make sure we get everything stays in the same place, and we're less likely to have any leaks. But we got to get some of this stuff out of the way here. A couple connectors back in here, and the very back fuel line, you don't have to disconnect it you just all the way. You have to loosen it up on the head side, and then disconnect it, loosen it up all the way on the fuel rail itself, and then you can just roll it back out of the way. So that one we don't have to take completely off. Like I said, the kit came with one for this front connection here, because the bends on it aren't right to make it past that new air intake. So all right, so I got that connection off, that for the map sensor. That one there's got one of those little red tabs. Use this little pick to try to move that locking tab out of your way. That way you can just push it in the tab, and then it'll release it. I took tubes coming off of this little barb and this one here, and got them pulled back out of the way. And I got one right back in there. It's going to be difficult. That's the next one I got to get, and then I can start disconnecting this this dipstick connector here, and then we can start marking our lines on our fuel lines. All right. So right here, these bolts are 10 millimeter for this bracket for the dipstick. I got them broke loose. Now I'm just gonna finish bringing them out. All right, so I got this one right here out. It was kind of hard to get because it was the tabs facing the wrong direction. You got to use that pick again, pull that red locking tab out, and then you can push it in and wiggle it, get it loose. Let's see, down in here, right in here, I got that off. I think that's the power for the heating grid. And I also got that stud out that connects the dipstick. I did take the dipstick out of it because I changed this intake on a 5.9, and when I was pushing around on the dipstick here, it broke off the handle when I was trying to put it in, and then it was a bitch to get that dipstick out and replace it. But so I just took it out. Now it's loose, I can move it out of my way. And I thought I had some white paint markers, but the one I had was it must have dried up. So I'm gonna have to get something to mark those lines. That way I can make sure everything stays where it's supposed to, and whenever I tighten it back up, it's tightened up where it needs to go. So that one, it's kind of hard to see right back there. This is the stud that I had to take out right there. It's 10 millimeter, just a short extension and deep well, 10 millimeter. And there's a lot of shit in the way, so just slow and easy going there. So just take your time. And like I said, you don't have a lot of room to move. All right, now I'm gonna loosen these up here. These are 10 millimeter as well. 19 millimeter here. Got it broke loose. Nothing moved. That one out of the way. So this right here, where it goes into the head, it's a 24 millimeter, but you can't get nothing on it to keep it from moving. So hopefully we don't have any issues with that, because now maybe I could get to it once I get this intake out of the way. Maybe that'll give me enough room to get something on there, because right now I can't get anything to hold it, keep it from backing off. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it right here from that boot, that rubber connection boot, and then get that out of the way. I did already disconnect, I think this is the map sensor. So, and like I said, this stuff here was already disconnected from whenever I did the EGR delete. Disconnect this right here. This is the 7/16. All right, got this all loosened up here. Taking a flat screwdriver and trying to separate it in there. But I did find there's that. It's holding on to that wiring harness that I got to get off. It should be pretty loose now. It'd be hard to separate it right there. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and finish taking off this front fuel line. Alright, so I got the front fuel line off. They give you some caps to put over top of it. Make sure you keep the crud out. And underneath that line there's another bolt that goes into there. I thought there was 5, so, or 6 total, the one that goes down through the middle. So all right, I got that bolt out. Should be pretty loose now. Get some rags, block that off. All right, there you can see all the crud build up down inside there. And then you can see, look how much larger the opening is on that. So I got one more connector on the wiring harness right there. I got to get out, and then I can get this all pulled out of the way and start taking these fuel lines off. Alright, so I got that back plug done. I got all that pulled back out of the way. I did loosen this up. Now I can get that 24 millimeter on there to hold it in place, and then use the 19 millimeter to take the fuel line off. So I already got them loose there. And then we'll get the caps put on there and keep the dirt and stuff out. Alright, so I got that back plug done. I got all that pulled back out of the way. I did loosen this up. Now I can get that 24 millimeter on there to hold it in place, and then use the 19 millimeter to take the fuel line off. So I already got them loose there. And then we'll get the caps put on there and keep the dirt and stuff out. All right, so the third line here at the engine goes to the fourth spot on the rail. Maybe you can see that or not. I got these loose. I got this one loose, and the fourth position there loose. But it was just at an odd angle. I couldn't really get any force, so I was able to use this and get a better position on it and pull from the side, and I was able to break it loose. But yeah, those back ones, I'm not looking forward to them because it's only going to get tougher. Not much room. All right, so we got 5 of the lines out. We got the caps. Now for the last one. At least I don't have to get that one all the way out because it's way back there. And you don't have a whole lot of room. Alright. So I got that back one loose. And rolled it back out of the way. Well, now that I got that fuel line disconnected from the fuel rail, I just need to do some cleanup here, vacuum up some of this debris, then I can take the fuel rail off, and then the heater grid plate. Alright, now I'm ready to take the fuel rail off and get There's 2 bolts on this side and 1 over here. We already took 1 out over here. That was what the dipstick was mounted to. Alright. Already broke these loose. 10mm. I haven't messed with the one in the back yet. Alright, so I put those bolts back in that stud. That way I can get this loosened up and this. So I didn't tighten it tight, but put it back on to hold it in place while I try to break those loose. Alright, so I got the fuel rail loose. The last thing I had to do is back here in the back is where that wiring harness for, I think it's the fuel pressure sensor, and you gotta get it up around that lifting lug, and then you just, it's got a push tab on it and then it pulls right out. They say you don't have to do that. You can just leave it connected and push it up out of the way. But I decided to go ahead and disconnect it. It was easy to get to. Once you loosened it up and got that wiring harness up around that lifting eye. All right. Now there's 4 bolts on the heating grid plate. You got the 2 right next to this sensor here towards the block, and then you got 1 right here and 1 back here in the back. I got them all broke loose. 1/4-inch ratchet, you don't got much leverage, and I've used this piece of pipe here several times just to crack them loose, just because it's short handle, you know, but it's also weak, so you're putting a lot of stress on that ratchet. We got her out. So there's the nut that is prone to loosen up and fall down into your intake and could do catastrophic damage to your engine. But look at all the fucking soot buildup. All right, I did a little bit more cleanup there, and stuff some towels down in there. Make sure I don't drop anything down in there. Now we gotta start taking off the parts that we need to reuse and start putting everything back together. All right, we got the fuel rail sitting on top of the new Banks plate, and what you'll see here is you got some spacers that we're going to go in there in between the fuel rail and the plate, because the factory plate had some raised areas to give a little bit of a gap underneath and separation between the two. So this is just a regular flat plate. They didn't have that casting in there. So, but this will also show you where you're going to have your bolts. Now this hole here, that's where sensor, I got to pull that out and put that in there. So just getting to the point where we're ready to go back in there and start installing parts. So there's our new gasket. We'll get that all laid out, lined up. Do a little bit more cleaning in there, and then we still have a few parts on the old intake that we need to take off. So a couple bolts in here, take this off, take his block off plate off. We got new gaskets here. This is your new gasket that'll lay on here. Like so. And then we have a few things we got to do to here too. We have the map sensor that we have to take off and put on here, and then there's several ports if you want to run some gauges and stuff like that. So, but we have some plugs for that. So all right, we got everything swapped over to the Monster Ram. And installed the new plate, heater grid plate. Got everything tightened down. 4 bolts that hold it down first, and then next we're going to put the fuel rail on and get it all torqued down. But still got a long ways to go, but we're getting there. All right, so we got the fuel rail all bolted back up. We got the back one, the fuel lines started. Everything's not tight, you know, everything's in. They just need to be torqued down. We're almost there. We got 2 more fuel lines. I got most of the wiring harness hooked up. I got that extension plugged in there. The last 2 fuel lines. And well, we'll do one more, then we'll install the intake, and then the last because the last one kind of blocks your access to the middle bulb on the intake. So almost there. All right, got everything hooked back up, tied up, tightened, torqued. Now we just need to get it primed up again and get it started. Alright, got her in there, everything's running, I don't see any leaks. Done. All right, it's the next day. Fired right up. It's 31 degrees. No issues. Still don't see any leaks. I did see there's a part of the wiring harness that mounts on the back side of this that I missed, but other than that I think I got everything. Everything's working real good. We'll see if it was worth it, you know. 900 bucks and about 5 hours of my time. Does it make a difference? Hopefully it does, you know. Maybe that nut or that stud for the heater grid may have never failed, so who knows. But we'll see if there's any noticeable difference.